someone from among them, just at the pinnacle, at the depths between them and hellfire, to come and to bring us out of the hellfire and return us to our heavenly stations. Who can know such a thing and when a thing should occur? Look at the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. He was staying at the home of the Aziz. Aziz, he was a very, very powerful man. And his wife was the first lady. And Joseph was their servant. May Allah be pleased with him. And she saw such a beauty in him. She was losing her mind. She tried to seduce him. This was the first lady. And he said, oh my Lord, if I didn't see signs of you, I would have been inclined to that seduction. But he saw signs of his Lord, and he escaped from that woman. And as he escaped, she grabbed him and tore his shirt from the back. Then the Aziz came in and says, what is going on? And she said, he tried to seduce me. Because she was ashamed. And so they had a tribunal. And they said, well, if he tried to seduce you, why is his shirt torn from the back? Allah Almighty orchestrates everything. Allah is always teaching, from the smallest to the greatest thing. Who is that one that wants us to know him? And he's showing us that no matter what it is that we do, everything is orchestrated so we may know who Allah Almighty is in our everyday lives, no matter how small it appears. So that was the whole talk. Can you imagine the whole talk of that place? So her name was Zuleika. She says, okay, I want people to see what I saw. She invited him to one of her women. She used to have counsel with her women, with her consort, her lady maids that were helpful to her. She had a gathering, and they had apples and all kinds of fruits and all kinds of delicious foods. And they were sitting around at the table. And she called Yusuf to come in. And they were sitting down and they was cutting their apples. And they looked up and they started cutting their fingers. What is this? What beauty is this magnificence that's coming from such a bit? They didn't even worry about their apples. They were no longer concerned with the heavenly grant. They were seeing in this man that he was from someplace else, that he was on something totally different. They were able to see his lights, his heavenly lights. Those are not just grants. Joseph was one who he did not look at the heavenly grants, but he was looking at the grantor of the heavenly grants. Those are the ones that Allah says about them, Kalbun Mukmin Bayt Allah. The heart of the believer is the house of Allah Almighty. He was not concerned with this world. This world served him. There's a prayer that we always say. He says, oh Allah, you have given me the interpretations of dreams, and to be able to see and recognize current events. please do not let me die except submitting my will to you in Islam. We say this prayer all the time. This is why we have been created. All the prophets represented the best in ourselves. Shaitan represents the worst in ourselves. A mentality that only looks to this world for its sustenance, that only is captivated by the grants of this life. Shaitan has orchestrated such decadence in our lives that we have totally lost everything. They're saying now that there is an economic crisis. We must ask, why is there an economic crisis? No one is thinking about it. But in Quran, there is everything through the Quran. The Quran addresses a mentality to think the way the prophets thought, to reconnect to their Lord so that they may have a constant message, a constant communication with the Lord of the worlds, to tell them what is it that they should do to stay on heavenly rules and don't go against heavenly rules, because it brings about a decadence and a demise of human nature. Allah Almighty sent two minerals that have always been the medium of exchange, gold and silver. Whenever we got away from gold and silver and started using paper money, the society started to collapse. Paper money is not money. If you melt gold, it's still gold. You melt silver, it's still silver. You burn the paper money, you have nothing. Shaitan, through his scheme of bringing the human being away from heavenly rules, so that they may lose their connection with Allah Almighty, so there will be no more people who their heart is the house of Allah Almighty, to rule on earth as it is in heaven. And that's why all of the abominations and all of the killing, all of the stealing, all of the deceptions, walking and running through the streets and bringing the national guard will never shut down the killing in the streets. We'll never cut it down, shut it down. It'll never happen. It's like a hamster spinning its wheels, going nowhere. Stimulus package by putting more money into society and giving more jobs will never ever bring the economic crisis to a halt. What mentality is this? It's a satanic mentality, and that's why Allah Almighty has to raise up His servants to re-educate the people. If they turn back to gold and silver, the economic crisis will shut down and be restored in 40 doggone days. No one's listening. That's why Allah Almighty is raising up some lions now. That one, that eternal absolute one, that no one can put in a microscope and know. That never sleeps. That was never born by nobody. It never gave birth to nobody. Always was, always is. Do you think that this is going to continue like this? Look at our mentality. The reason Allah Almighty completed His favor on us by sending us Islam, so that we may regain our mentality. where you think and act like animals.